Not long ago, some people would have urged you to buy just a one-way ticket to Brighton rather than bothering with a return. Chances are you'd be dead before you could use the homeward part. Slaughterhouse of Europe, crime capital of Britain, drugs death capital of the UK. Sobriquets that have constantly defined the town of Brighton, now the city of Brighton and Hove, since Regency days, and with some accuracy. 2 women separately murdered and stuffed into railway trunks. 3 members of the same family bludgeoned to death by a 4th. A chief constable struck down in his own office with a fire poker. And a prime minister and her entire cabinet narrowly escaping assassination. All of this happened in and around Brighton. And as you stroll jauntily down Queen's Road from the railway station to the seaside, don't fantasize about building sandcastles on the beach. There is no sand, just the stones that mods and rockers hurled at each other during their pitched battles of the 1960s and again in the 1980s. For many years, my fans have been asking me if I'd consider writing a book about my research and the background to my Roy Grace novels. And Roy Grace is based on a real-life former police officer called Dave Gaylor, who was Chief Superintendent, Head of Major Crime for Sussex for many years. And when he retired, the mantle of my kind of chief point contact at Sussex Police became Graham Bartlett, who became Chief Superintendent of the City of Brighton and Hove and was a former top homicide detective himself. And Graham and I became really good mates, and the police retired at a ridiculously young age in England, 30 years service. So Graham's coming up to that at 48. And there's no encouragement to stay on. And it's ridiculous, all that experience. Anyhow, Graham said, I'm really thinking of writing a book when I retire. And I thought, oh my God, because I get sent manuscripts all the time. I think about once a week I get an email from a cop somewhere in England saying, I'm retiring, I've written a book, would you mind looking at it? I can't possibly read an entire book every time, so I say, send me the first chapter. And almost invariably, they write in plod speak, the way they write statements. So you'll open it up and go, I was proceeding in a westerly direction when I happened to notice a person looking a little bit suspicious. But Graham sent me a couple of blogs that he'd written, and I was absolutely astonished at the lightness of style. He had a really good way of writing. And I said to Graham, would you think about collaborating and writing a book about what it's really like to be a cop in Roy Grace's Brighton, and also working on, if you like, a lot of the stories that I've drawn from in the Roy Grace novels. And he loved the idea, and that's how it began. I find the psychology behind criminals constantly fascinating. I've had so much inspiration for books. I'm very involved with the Reading Agency, which encourages literacy in the UK, and one of the things I do for part of that is I give a lot of talks in prisons. And I was giving a talk in a women's prison not that long ago, and I was giving a talk to this group of women, and there was this one woman asking very smart questions. Clearly she was well educated, and I was fascinated. I wonder what you're in for. I guess drink driving, maybe kill somebody, something like that. Anyway, I get to mingle at the end, and for me the big bang is getting to talk to them, and you never say to somebody, what have you done? I always break the ice. So I said to him, how much longer do you have to go? He said, 9.5 more bloody years. It's just not fair. A woman did exactly what I did in London. She's only got 6 more years. I said, what brought you in here? He said, well, I poisoned my mother-in-law, the old bag. I said, really? He said, yeah, well, the thing was, she went into hospital to die, so I embezzled her bank account. The bloody woman didn't die. She came home. So I realized she'd find out, so I had to poison her. And then I realized my husband would find out, and so I had to poison him too. And it's just not fair, the length of time I got. As I was being taken out, I said to the officer, I said, is this for real? I said, yeah. Husband was 3 months on life support, he's got permanent brain damage, and she's just angry about the length of her sentence. And I thought, you have to be a character in a future book. And she actually became Love You Deb, my current Roy Grace novel, which is once come out, paid back in October. She's the central character of that. I've kind of down-aged her and made it even nastier. That is one extreme that I've kind of learned about the kind of criminal mind, that when you meet an absolute out-and-out sociopath,